into the draft. So, welcome back. For those of you just tuning in, my name is Darman, coming to you live on twitch.tv/DarmanCast, and this is the third game I'll be casting and second game in the heroic bracket of AD2L Season 10. This again going to be Game 2 in the best of 2 series between Firestarter and EMPOW4. Firestarter are currently up 1 game to 0.
5 seconds
and they're going to be starting off they're going to be starting off this game the same way they started off game 1, banning out the Tusk. I assumed they were going to ban out the Gyrocopter as well, but that's already taken care of for them as EMPOW4 ban off the Gyrocopter. Instead, they look over and ban out the Invoker. Both teams pretty quick with their banning phases typically, and take a little bit more time on the third and fourth overall picks.
Remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Oh, let me move this over here.
Reserve time.
But this time EMPOW4 taking a little bit longer on their second overall ban. For those of you who have followed today, know that I greatly appreciate it. We got 4 or 5 new followers over the past couple games, and I do appreciate it. Constantly looking for more viewers, constantly looking for more teams to follow, constantly looking for more games to cast. So, if you like me, like my commentary, like my monotone voice, if you like Dota 2, if you like Mountain Dew, if you like me casually referring to conversations that you can't see in YouTube replays as I talk to Twitch chat, these are all reasons to follow.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds
and I
remaining.
do appreciate it. So we got the second ban coming out from EMPOW4 as they ban out the OD. He's a hero who's received a few buffs here in the last patch, and he has an int steal directly on his orb now, which I feel makes him just a completely broken hero. I have not been able to figure out how to utilize his new model yet, where his prison is more of an AoE nuke and he has int steal on his orb and everything else.
Remaining.
I still kind of bumble around and just get killed a lot, but
5 seconds
I know
remaining.
they've buffed him and I know he has some lethal potential. So
Reserve
these
time.
guys, these two teams both play, I think their team combined average is probably right around the 4,700, 4,800 MMR range. Don't shoot the messenger if I'm wrong. I'm just kind of ballparking it based off of a few players that I know on each team and what their approximate MMRs are. I know both teams have 1 or 2 players above 5k and a few definitely below that. So nobody in the 1k range though. So this is high MMR Dota.
5
so if
seconds
anybody knows how to play a potent OD, it's probably players like these before you.
Time.
Not players like me still bumbling around the 3,200 mark, trying to get back to 4K, where I used to play with an organized team. Now I just kind of wing it and have fun and play dumb Dota, which is fun in its own regard, but it can also be extremely frustrating when you see 3 members of your team die, and then all of a sudden the Omni on your team uses his ultimate. You're like, yes, perfectly timed. And speaking of supports, you have the first 2 heroes once again being picked up for each team, and both of them seemingly going to be supports. Earthshaker once again picked up by Firestarter, and Rubik picked up by EMPOW4. Earthshaker will, if it's anything like the previous game, be played by Duralius, and if it's anything like the previous game, he's going to just beat up one hero with his Fissure all the time.
10 seconds
the last
remaining.
game it was Jakiro. We'll see who suffers his
5
wrath in
seconds
game
remaining.
2.
Reserve time.
Let me check the AD2L forums real quick, make sure nothing crazy's going on. Oh, we're still up, we're still live, so. So, Night Stalker, the next pickup from EMPOW4. And EMPOW4 had mentioned that the previous game, they just couldn't control the Slark. It was one of their pain points. And you kind of saw that when Slark came online. He got those 3 items that I mentioned. He had the Yasha, he had the Shadow Blade, and he had the drums of endurance. And once he had those 3 things, he was using his drums on cooldown, kind of just sprinting around the map looking for anyone who was out of position, seeing if he could pick somebody off. Firestarter's second support here going to be the AA. Both teams dipping into the reserve time pretty early. They're both under a minute of reserve time remaining. AA is one of those heroes that I love to pick up as a support. I hate fighting against, but I think he's best utilized in situations where the opposing team has a lot of healing mechanics. So far, that doesn't exist on EMPOW4 yet, outside of a possible earn pickup from Night Stalker. But even that doesn't really justify an AA ult. But it could just be in preparation for what's to come from Team Firestarter here.
Radiant team ban.
You have your 2 team drafters here are P-Lorn on Team EMPOW4 and Duralius drafting for Team Firestarter.
10 seconds remaining.
So, no real shock that Duralius is first picking his own hero. What a selfish captain.
Reserve time.
Just kidding. Love to both captains. Because drafting is an art form in and of itself. Games can be won and lost on the draft screen alone. You need to know all the hero mechanics on your team, on the opposing team. You need to know what heroes are left. You need to know any tricks the opposing team might have up their sleeve. If you've really done your homework, you know what heroes your opponent is strong with, which ones they're weak with. And of course, for your own team, you need to know your squad intimately. Not to be confused with sexually, although you can do that too. It's a free country, so however you want to know your team. But you need to know what heroes they play exceptionally well and which ones to avoid. You might have the best mid laner in the world, but he really, really sucks with Queen of Pain for some reason. And you can't just pick a Queen of Pain to fit a lineup if you don't have the player set behind it to make use of it. In this game, you can't pick Queen of Pain also because it's been banned out by Team Firestarter, along with the Storm Spirit. EMPOW4 having enough of the shenanigans from Game 1 is going to pay a little respect to Klars and ban out his Slark.
Radiant team.
They also ban out the Templar Assassin in the mid lane, presumably to make way for their own pick here, so that they can pick up the Zeus. Firestarter responding immediately by picking up Death Prophet. And I had mentioned in the previous draft not having played the new Death Prophet very much.
10 seconds
They've
remaining.
Changed how she operates a little bit. What used to be her passive is now an activatable, which creates a spirit link between DP and the enemy units, draining health and slowing the enemy. And it does a percentage of Death Prophet's health to the enemy. And as she levels it up, it gets additional charges. So if she's really quick with the micro and the entire EMPOW4 team is clustered together, she'll be able to slow multiple heroes down at once. However, I think that slow is going to be a little hard to execute
Faceless Void.
since EMPOW4 have
Dire
picked
team
up the
banned.
Night Stalker and the Slardar, both heroes who are exceptionally fast. Night Stalker, of course, fast in the nighttime, not so fast in the daytime, but Slardar is going to have his sprint available whenever
10
he
seconds
needs it.
remaining.
Well, presuming he hasn't used it to initiate. But I
5
suspect we'll see a
seconds
blink come
remaining.
out on him sooner rather than later for initiation purposes, reserving that sprint for
Reserve
escape
time. 10
mechanics.
seconds remaining.
Firestarter continuing to mix things up, pick up
5
the
seconds
Void
remaining.
for their 4th overall pick. Void, another hero who has been reworked quite a bit,
Radiant
so
team
they're
banned.
operating with the reworked heroes in this second matchup between the two teams. Time Walk in 6.85C, has been
10
retooled a
seconds
little bit,
remaining.
and they increased the time walk distance quite a bit.
5 seconds
But
remaining.
since the hero's been retooled, the biggest change to him
Dire
is
team
going to
pick.
be that the time walk now backtracks any damage he took in the last 2 seconds. It's going to be exceptionally strong against heroes like Zeus, who are very bursty. So anytime
Radiant
Zeus throws
team
out his
pick.
ultimate, for example, or like an Arc Lightning Bolt combination, if Void's able to use his Time Walk, which at max level is available every 6 seconds, he's going to be able to leap, even if he just leaps, a foot ahead of himself, and backtrack all of that damage that Zeus was able to pump out in a short period of time. So it'll be a game of dancing between the Faceless Void and Zeus
10
here, as that
seconds
new
remaining.
backtrack mechanic's in place. And of course, as they
5
did get rid of the
seconds
pure
remaining.
backtrack mechanic, they had to replace it with something, and in this case that's going to be
Reserve
time
time.
dilation, which is really strong against heroes that have very short cooldowns, like the Zeus Arc Lightning. What happens is Faceless Void traps him in a time dilation, whatever they want to call it, and it slows down the cooldown of the spells for people in a radius around Void. So that Arc Lightning, which Zeus is able to cast every 1.75 seconds,
10 seconds
I like to get
remaining.
the Octarine to reduce it even further, is going to be lengthened a bit by Faceless Void in his time dilation. The last 2 picks from both teams is going to represent the meat of the team, as Wraith King is picked up by EMPOW4 and Quicksilver picks up the Brewmaster. So turn on the always
for
loved
preparations.
Darmancast overlays. I'll look at some Evil Genius background here. I don't think that's showing on the overlay. Yeah, it's not. I do need to retool my toolbars a little bit to show the team names. I recognize that, and I apologize for covering them up. For those of you just tuning in, know that it is still Team Firestarter versus Team EMPOW4. And we will get underway here with introductions, possibly. Actually, I take that back, because EMPOW4 have smoked up and are flanking into the jungle here, looking to catch out Team Firestarter. And it looks like they are going to run smack into Kupo, who runs straight into the waiting arms of V. He throws out a stun, the lift follows it up, and there's just 5 heroes there, all beating on the Earthshaker, who this game around is going to be played by Kupo. Kupo, not Zigduralius. Until the Observer Ward's been placed, the first blood has been drawn, and this game's going to start out in favor of EMPOW4, as they completely block off
May
this
the
bot
best team
rune and
win.
aren't letting Firestarter anywhere near it. However,
Time
that
is
does
money.
secure ABC, the top rune. So let's try introductions here again, assuming there's no tricks. You have Duralius this time playing the Ancient Apparition instead of the Earthshaker. And he's going to be chased down by Rubik here as he looks to dive further into what I'll call the jungle, but I am rocking the desert overlay for this game. I have it set up on random, so you get a bit of both views here. Clars is going to be playing a hard carry Death Prophet, so this may be why I haven't played Death Prophet, because I don't even know where she's supposed to be laning anymore. This time she's going to be laning in the safe lane, protected by Kupo, who is playing the Earthshaker. Heading into the mid lane here for the Radiant side, you have ABC running forward here and beating up Zeus with some right-click damage. That's ABC 123 playing the Faceless Void. In the top lane, I had mentioned AA and Brewmaster both chasing down the Night Stalker. So it's Quicksilver playing the Brewmaster. Quicksilver, the stand-in for fire starters right now, I believe. Yep. On the other side of the fence, we have Pelorn playing the Night Stalker. The Wraith King is going to be played by Mr. V. Playing the Zeus as he runs to the high ground here, throwing out a few lightning bolts after the Time Walk had been used, is Captain Canuck, again playing Zeus, and heading for the Haste Rune in the top. And then in the bot lane, playing a bit aggressive here, going on to the opposing side of the map. ABC Time walking back and forth here, trying to mitigate as much damage as he can. But Reaper's made a rotation, and he's there to pick him up, throw him down. Faceless Void eating a fair amount of damage, but he had that magic wand, so he has just enough mana, or just enough health to stay alive. As Zeus runs out of mana, he's chugging down a Clarity Potion to see if he can get back into Lightning Bolt range. Meanwhile, in the top lane, first blood was drawn in before the runes had spawned, but the first laning kill of the game occurs in the top lane as Quicksilver is able to drop Mr. V thanks to the combination AA Brewmaster. And continue with the rotations, Reaper has made his way to the top lane here. And he lifts the AA, drops him down, and now it's Mr. V making a dive. Drops the AA, so they make it a 1-for-1 trade there. AA getting killed by, it looks like, just a creep wave, so the gold is split amongst the three heroes. Alright, I think I announced pretty much everyone on Empower, except for, last but not least, the stand-in for the team is Guru Pathik, playing the off-lane Slardar going up. Oh. Catch just the tail end of that there, as Faceless Void dives under the tower in order to kill Zeus, and they make it a 1-for-1 trade. Faceless Void coming out the slight favor there, as he was also able to get the experience for the kill. Mr. V walking up a little bit too far forward, eating a bit of damage. Meanwhile, while I take a look at that, and the bottom lane, it's Slardar who falls to the Carry Prophet, who it looks like had utilized his slowing mechanic as well as some of the Crypt Swarm damage there to bring him down. So while Sprint is, and you saw Sprint come off a cooldown, so he was definitely using it there. While Sprint's great for that movement speed boost, you do also take increased damage, so you need to be very careful about how and when you use that. Kupo hanging out here in the mid lane, seeing if they can't get another kill off Captain Canuck. I'm not sure if he sees him. He definitely does now, because they do have that high ground ward, so he's going to be looking to play pretty defensively. Meanwhile, in the top lane, it's Reaper, who's looking to add some additional rotational support for Mr. V and Pelorn, as they look to get as much farm as they can out of the safe lane, going up against the 2-1-2 combination from the Radiant side. Stun's thrown out against Quicksilver, but it's going to be Mr. V who falls first. but it looks like EMPOW4 are going to be able to answer as they drop the Brewmaster, so it's a 1-for-1 trade as they trade the Wraith King for the Brewmaster. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, you have Klars and Guru going at it once again. The fish advantage is being called 1-0 in favor of Dire, and I think it's just something about the Dire team. Dire teams are always fish favorites. Klars committing his ultimate to a Zeus who was blocked out by a Fissure. Maybe a bit overkill there, but he'll be able to use it to rotate to this bottom lane and do some damage to Guru, clear the creep wave, and presumably push this into the tower if they're able to drop the wave in time. But it looks like with Exorcism 2/3 the way done, it won't be there quite in time. ABC jumping forward, gets a 3-hero bubble with his first ultimate of the game, and immediately looks to focus down the Rubik. He's able to get the kill. Mr. V gets caught in cold feet as AA is able to catch him out, but he's going to stun the Brewmaster and be able to waddle his way to safety as P-Lorn on the Night Stalker during the nighttime has 407 base move speed, even with just the brown boots. Is able to circle back. And so with the Void rotation, they're able to get 1 kill, picking off the rotating Rubik. And ABC doing the dance I was telling you about, where he time walks just 1 step away, backtracking some of that lightning bolt damage. For those of you who have been... Oh, let's take a look here. As the bottom lane is Klars is probably going to be dropped for the first time this game thanks to a rotating Night Stalker. And, of course, the stunning Slardar. The fish man, making his way onto the board for the first time this game. Making it 1-for-1, and the scoreboard is pretty much all tied up now as it is 6-5, 8 minutes into the game. For those of you, as I started before, who have been tuned in all night and was able to catch Game 1, Kick-Ass Patrol versus Three Fists Canadians. Getting reports now that Game 2 went the way of Three Fists Canadians, so both of those teams are 1-1 to kick things off in their first bout of Season 10 in AD2L. So congratulations to both teams. Both get 1 under the belt, and both move on to the next round. So be anxious to see how both of those teams fare throughout the remainder of the tournament. Dire team does have an advantage of 1 fish, but it is a Slardar who's constantly knocking at death's door here, going up against Klars, who's looking to rotate behind the fish. He gets the Crypt Swarm off, but it's slightly off the mark as Guru's sprint is activated and he dodges away from it. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, you have ABC and Captain Canuck going at it toe-to-toe. And Zeus is constantly out of mana. Kupo rotates forward with a Fissure, and they commit the Void Bubble and the AA ultimate, which again might not make it there in time, but it does, just in time to steal the kill away from ABC, who is going to be able to secure that either way.
Dire's bottom tower is in turmoil.
But better safe than sorry. Sorry for the pause here, guys. Klars taking an amp damage from the Slardar as Slardar looks for the best pathing route to get to him, but instead he's just going to make his way down to Kupo, throw another amp damage out so they can keep eyes on the Firestarter heroes. Meanwhile, the top lane, you don't have a ton of rotations coming out from Firestarter. You have Kupo on his Earthshaker rotating around, but the rotations are much more aggressive coming out from EMPOW4 so far. They have Night Stalker rotating around, And Reaper has just been everywhere this game. Luckily, it hasn't hurt him too much in terms of levels. He's still level 6, matching the supports of Team Firestorm. Big AA ult coming out from across the map into the bottom lane. Maybe they were able to catch out Reaper, but he has since backed off. Meanwhile, on the top lane, you have Brewmaster splitting and chasing down Guru Pratik, but Duralius is in trouble. But Kupo's there with the Fissure to save him for as long as possible. AA ult off cooldown is tossed back up into the lane, and it's going to help drop the first life of Wraith King, but he does have his ultimate, and so Night Stalker chasing down, I missed who it was. Oh, it was actually the Zeus. Zeus dropping the Earth Shaker, and then Wraith King finishing off the Brewmaster as he slowly lumbered back towards his tower. The slow effect coming out from Wraith King's reincarnation, just too much to deal with, and he's not able to get back to the safety of his allies.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Rubik falls to the hard carry Death Prophet. Missing a couple kills. Looks like there were kills all over the map there. Mid, bot, and top. So I showed you the biggest team fight I could.
Tower is not safe.
As Mr. B rotates into the jungle, dragging the creep wave for a few extra denies.
Radiant's middle tower may need a hand.
Quicksilver's not going to have that taken for free. He walks in, steals some neutrals of his own, and gets a lane creep as well. Awesome looking courier coming out from the Dire Fish Squad. You have the red aura glow. Meanwhile, while I check out auras and couriers, I miss another kill for you guys in the bot lane as Klars is finally dropped by the 3-man rotational squad of Empower, and it's Rubik who is credited the kill there. But it was Night Stalker, Slardar, and Rubik all working in tandem to secure that kill. Ult comes out from Zeus as he engages ABC, but Kupo's there to support his ally. And between the Fissure and the Enchant Totem, it was enough to keep him in place long enough to secure the kill. So it may have been a panic ult there, but P. Lauren's ready to dive himself, and he gets the silence off and charges at him. But fearing the shadows, decides not to commit too much, knowing Kupo could still be there and could still have a stun ready to go.
Dire's top tower isn't well at the moment. Dire's top tower is under attack.
Regeneration.
I'm being told something was cold.
He's not on top.
I don't know if I made a dumb pun or what. I'm missing something from 4 minutes ago. Guru surging forward, catching Klars with the stun, but he's going to have to sprint away, and as he does so, he takes that amp damage, and Klars nearly kills him with his Crypt Swarm. And I'm not sure if, yep, the AA ult is slightly off the mark, so Death Prophet's not taking that tick damage and is still able to bottle up under the amp damage. Looks like Firestarters are ready to push their first tower of the game here, as Earthshaker and ABC are lurking in the shadows ready to pounce on whoever comes out to defend. Death Prophet has her ult, and they're going to push forward. You have a rotation coming in from the AA. Death Prophet throwing out some right clicks, not committing the ult just yet. They don't see where the majority of heroes are. They see Reaper out, they throw the Fissure his way. ABC jumps forward, commits the ult just for the Rubik. As teleportations come in from the Night Stalker, who decides to cancel it off and he looks to just push this top tower and instead try to make a trade, a 1-for-1 tower trade instead of teleporting into the void bubble, which may have been down by the time the teleport finished. Quicksilver stepping forward, knowing that there was at least the Night Stalker here, is going to be crushed to death by the silence and the crushing, the slithering crush from Slardar. So far they are looking to make it a 1-for-1 trade. They secured the middle tower, they're doing damage to the top tower, but Firestarter looking to respawn by aggressively pushing. They take the tier 2 tower, Faceless Void jumping forward, dropping the Rubik behind the tier 2 tower, and it's a 2-for-1 tower trade, as well as Firestarter losing Brewmaster and Power losing the Rubik, as well as the Rubik. So Rubik died twice there, trying to defend his bottom lane. Darman cast, Darman last, Varman blast. Yes, you are all epic poets. And speaking of epic, Quicksilver jumping forward to Thunder Crush P-Lorn here, and our Thunder Clap P-Lorn, and the Zeus ult follows behind it, buying P-Lorn some space to retreat, salve up, and he's good to go for another encounter here, as it is nighttime. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Mr. V getting into some sort of damage himself is going to pop the Blade Mail to return some of the damage to AA as the rest of the Empower team rotates to the top lane. Guru's going to walk right past Quicksilver. He tries to crush him, but Quicksilver a little bit faster on the trigger, uses his Blink Dagger, escapes to safety, and Firestarter are going to back off, regroup, and then come back in, but this time with greater numbers. They'll be back again in greater numbers. The last tail of the Arc Lightning coming out from Captain Canuck, catching Brewmaster, so he was unable to blink his Thunderclap slightly off the mark, but it didn't matter. The Fissure was there, the AA was there, they had more than enough damage to drop the Zeus, who was not sitting on full health anyways, and just didn't see the full 5-man rotation coming out from Team Firestarter, who are looking to once again play this game very aggressive. At the 18-minute mark, they're looking to take their second tier 2 tower of the game and just take over map control. So far, Empower have only been able to drop one tier 1 tower in the mid lane, and that is the 4th tower going the way of Team Firestarter. So, looking to push very aggressively here, and they're pinging out the bottom tower. Mr. V and Guru in the flanks are looking to see if they can't get the second Dire Tower of the game here as Firestarter move into the Dire jungle, get a little bit of farm, reset, regroup, and presumably just continue this murder ball trend and head into the tier 1 tower mid. PG Viking from Twitch chat here is calling out that Wraith King needs to go into Blade Mail Radiance, and so far he is on track to do that. He has picked up the Blade Mail, and he and team are putting it to use here as they 3 vs 1 the Brewmaster in the bottom lane, drop him, and then go back to secure their second tower of the game. So 19 minutes into the game, you have a slight gold advantage in favor of Team Firestarter, but the experience advantage is actually in favor of Empower. Again, that's one of the downsides to grouping up as 4 or 5 and pushing together, is you have to share that experience. Guru blinking forward there, landing the Slithering Crush against Aurelius, but his team's not in position to take advantage of it, so he's going to be able to back up to safety. AA ult coming out, going to land on Mr. V, so he's not going to be able to sustain himself with that lifesteal for a bit. He pops Blade Mail just to throw some of the harassment damage back to Aurelius, who was sitting below half anyway. Meanwhile, in the top lane, you have your heavily rotating Rubik. This time, playing the rat
Radiant's
game a little
middle
bit
tower may need a
and seeing if he
hand.
can take down this tier 1 tower.
I see that
Both
Radiant
blinking
just
forward, and
fortified their
they're actually going to commit the glyph and kill the Reaper, and then turn around, and a couple right clicks here on the tower will deny it. So they got the kill on the Rubik, and maybe there it is.
Radiant
Get the
succeeded
deny on
in
the tower.
denying their top tower.
AA doing what AAs do, and that is be a huge pain in the ass as they harass with that ultimate. I know what I've been missing from these games. I knew I was missing something. I typically have the music playing lightly in the background. That should be good enough. Check my audio levels. Yeah. As sexy as my voice is, I know it becomes even sexier when I play some melodic Dota 2 music. The entire Firestarter squad grouped up, ready to go, and all the alts are ready to go except for Earthshaker, who will have his in about 20 seconds, so not too far away. Hopefully Kupo can keep track of his ultimate a little bit better than Duralius, who in the previous game did not seem to know when it was up. ABC diving behind the tower here is going to be able to drop Zeus. The DP ultimate is released, and she's going to take the scenic tour here as she eats an amp damage.
Dire has strengthened their
But
structures.
ABC and Duralius are staying focused, playing objective Dota. ABC eating a little bit of tower damage, but he's going to backtrack that away as he jumps around the tower with Time Walk.
Dire's middle tower is in the wrong
Duralius
end
drawing
of
on the map
business.
here, saying let's keep pushing, especially while we have this DP ult. And 23 minutes into the game, they will have cleared all of the outer towers from EMPOW4. So, like in game 1, looking to take map
Dire's
control
middle
early,
tower met its
play
end.
aggressive, play on the opposing team's side of the map, and just constantly starve out the other team's farming potential. When you lose towers, you lose quite a bit of stuff. You not only lose the vision, which of course is annoying in and of itself, but you lose the ability to teleport to two locations to reinforce team fights very quickly. So, ABC teleporting to the bottom lane here. I thought he might have seen Guru, who's tucked away here into the brush, into the cacti in this new Dota 2 board, if you will. But as I was saying, so you lose those teleport locations. So if a tower breaks out, then you know the game's broken. But if a fight breaks out in the middle of the river, for example, everyone from Firestarter can teleport here and make it there in one screen hop. EMPOW4, however, have to teleport to the tier 3 tower, and they have to walk all this way to get to the team fight. So that adds an extra 5 or 6 seconds of travel time, which 5 or 6 seconds in Dota land is more than enough to lose a hero or two, and more than enough to turn the tides of a fight in favor of one team or the other.
Invisibility.
Mr. B starting to get a little damage behind him. He's going to spot out ABC, throw out a stun, and do a little right-click damage, but decides it's not worth it and backs off for the safety of his team. Kupo blinking forward, throwing out Fissure, but it was slightly off the mark. Well, it connected, but not before EMPOW4 were able to blink back to safety. And now the chase is on as Firestarter looked to pick off someone, and EMPOW4 looked to sprint away between the sprint mechanic, blink daggers, and everything else. But Brewmaster, sitting on an invis rune, is going to be lurking around, seeing if he can't pick somebody off. And as the invisibility fades, so too the Firestarter team fades back into the jungle. So a lot of tension, but ultimately both teams walking away without a kill, without a death. Ping's coming out from, I think that was the Death Prophet into the middle lane saying, hey guys, they're on the middle. What do you want to do? The Night Stalker has picked up several smokes, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Captain Canuck go around, de-ward a little bit, and put those smokes to use here very soon. Both teams just farming each other's jungles for the time being. But that won't last long as Firestarter at the 26-minute mark make their first push into the high ground. The Empower heroes making a desperate dive over into the side chops. Night Stalker throwing his smokes to the ground. As the fight breaks out, and Empower need to sprint back to their base here. ABC throwing out a big bubble right on the ramp to the tier 3 tower. Empower surging forward, catching AA with a stun. And so far it's a 3-for-0 trade as Captain Canuck is able to soften the entire team with his ultimate, and then between the chase and, is that a stolen DP ult? It sure looks like it is. So DP throwing her ult out there, but Reaper matching it with an exorcism of his own. And that turns the tide of the fight in favor of Empower, who take their first big team fight of the match, winning 4-0. Checking out the gold advantage there. That pretty much negates everything Firestarter has worked for so far in taking down those early towers. And for the first time, really starts to make a mark on those XP earned charts. So it's been a while since they've even got a kill. Last kill for Empower was back at around the, looks like 18-minute mark, so it's been about 10 minutes since they've gotten a single kill. But they respond violently here as they get nearly a full team wipe in defense of their high ground. Being told the chat loves the voice and music combination. Yep, I knew that was the added touch that was needed. That 20% music.
Time is money.
Which I can't even hear it anymore. Do I have it on? Is it not looping or something? That's just really soft. Yeah, whatever. That's too much music. You need more Darwin voice. Again, I apologize for playing around with the audio levels here. This is my first cast of 2016. It's been a few weeks since I've cast AD2L, and most of the minor amateur tournaments has taken a break through December in order to allow Dota players to hang out, enjoy the holidays, and act like humans for a short time. So, as a result, I have not been casting very much at all. Since then, I've also updated to Windows 10. I've added a second graphics card, so I'm now rocking the SLI combo, which, for those of you interested in casting any game, Dota included, SLI does not play well with most casting software. You need to disable your second card in order to make anything come through, because the casting software, which we'll get into here shortly, as ABC is picked up and dropped by Reaper before he's able to cast his ultimate. Meanwhile, Lars is here sucking the life out of everyone around him, trying to stay alive for as long as he can. Stun's coming out from V, and it's going to be a 3-for-1 trade so far, as Reaper's just doing work with this stolen exorcism. Quicksilver on the run, trying to make it back to his base, but the blinking combination from Empower and the Slardar and Mr. V is going to catch up to him. The stuns come out, and he's locked down for the remainder of his relatively short life.
Radiant's middle tower is not safe.
So it looks like there must have been some buybacks there. I missed where the buybacks came in, but
Radiant structures
the
are
chart's saying it
fortified.
was a 3 for 5
Radiant's
trade,
middle tower
as
may need a hand.
Wraith King and Slardar both fell at some point in that match.
Radiant's middle tower
But
is
still,
under
definite advantage in favor of EMPOW4 as they take a huge team fight, as well as that tier 2 tower in the middle lane. AA responded by throwing out a blast, but it's only going to catch V, not do much damage to him as he's sitting at full health. He's not even going to bother to do the blade mail harassment return. So he just waddles his way back into his jungle to pick off some neutrals. After that big team fight, you have another dip, this time net worth breaking even and heading in favor of EMPOW4. And the XP jumping to over 12k experience in favor of EMPOW4 as they take their second big team fight. They take the Roche, they take the team fight. You have Klar sitting here with with an Invis rune, baiting Quicksilver's Brewmaster to leap forward and try to catch out the Night Stalker with a Thunderclap, but slightly off the mark as the Invis rune runs its course. It's going to be about half done here. Neither team really has a need for sentry wards, with the exception of dewarding one another. So not a ton of detection on either team in anticipation of an invisibility rune. As Klars makes her move, the A blast comes in and lands on V here, who's also engaged by ABC as he pops his bubble and begins by attacking the Wraith King, but changes mid-fight to fight the Rubik, and Death Prophet, low on HP this time, tries to make a retreat, but is not going to be there. Quicksilver and Kupo trying to make short work of the Zeus, who's standing tall, standing strong, as Mr. V behind him is trying to get this Brewmaster off of his back. Quicksilver blinks away, but V is right there on top of him, and now Zeus, low life or not, is surging forward and throwing out lightning on cooldown, and it's going to be a 3 for 4 trade with just the Faceless Void making it out on Team Firestarter, and the 1-2 combination of Captain Canuck, and Mr. V on the Zeus and Wraith King respectively, making their way out of the fight. Chart still kind of tapering off, the 3 for 4 trade not favoring either team too dramatically there. Void did live, which is, you know, kind of critical, as Firestarter's cores need to remain alive for as long as possible, but on the flip side of the map you had both the Wraith King and the Zeus make it through the fight for EMPOW4. I'm calling it a win for EMPOW4. Which, of course, you can deduce from numbers alone, but hey, then why would I have a job? I'm kidding, I don't have a job playing, commenting, or announcing Dota. This is just a hobby. Kupo, watching Zeus pick up the bounty rune, decides, hey, I'm going to harass you for that. Throws out the fissure, and just the tip hits him. Just the tip. Zeus making sure there's no wards anywhere down here, in hopes that they're able to secure Roshan once again when it comes off of cooldown. And he can search all he wants, but Firestarter, aware of the common hunting points, decide to place their observer wards in a slightly unorthodox location, and it's going to be tough for him to spot it out. Especially since it's just ever so close to that sentry ward. We'll see if this is, in fact, the second game in a row where the fishies dominate who wins what games. Dire Fishies have done well so far tonight in the form of Game 1, where the Tidehunter Slark combination proved to be too fish-tastic for EMPOW4 to be able to handle, and gave Firestarter the 1-0 advantage that they have coming into this Game 2 in the best of 2 series. But now the teams are both just kind of stalling out, looking to farm up, and as this game goes later and later, you have some very dangerous heroes. Zeus eventually starts to fall off, but he has plenty of item space to become more potent. He has finished off the Ags. It looks like now he's working towards that refresher, so he'll be a mobile flak cannon, if you will, just throwing out lightning like crazy. In the mid lane, AA has picked up the Invis rune, and I think that's the 4th Invis rune that Firestarters have been able to pick up. They've gotten quite a few of them, so always in the right place at the right time by the looks of things. Zeus continuing to try to hunt down any aggressive wards that Firestarter may have put down, but not going to find it here in the middle lane as AA picks up a smoke, so we may see some aggressive rotations here. Speaking of aggressive rotations, we have AA circling out the Night Stalker and Reaper combination as they push into the bottom lane here. And the Dire have pretty good view of the ancient jungle, so they know they're not in too much danger. And a couple heroes keep popping up in this top lane, so they know the majority of them are up here, so they're probably going to look to push this bottom tower here. Night Stalker has the Aghanim Scepter. I'm not sure if he's going to go for a gem. A lot of Night Stalkers do, because it gives that unobscured vision and it allows him to be a mobile ward wrecker. But with a Zeus in the game, you might want to save that and instead just let Zeus take care of dewarding things with his lightning bolt, which provides true sight. And the Wraith King, per the audience request, picking up the Radiance after he had picked up the Blink in BKB. So now he has the much desired, much called for Blade Mail Radiance combination, and he's going to look to put it to use here as he jumps forward, dives onto the Faceless Void, who is able to get the Time Walk off, so he backtracks a lot of damage, but now it's Klars who's in danger, and stepping forward, Reaper's able to pick up ABC one more time and secure the kill there, so it's 2-0. Klars able to leech enough health away from the EMPOW4 squad to get away at least for a little bit, but then he turns to man mode fight the Wraith King, which is ill-advised at this point, as Reaper's rocking an exorcism of his own, and stepping forward with the rest of his team is able to make it a 3-for-0 trade. Blinking forward, stealing a fissure, stealing spells left and right. He's throwing out fissures while he's throwing out exorcisms. I'm surprised he didn't catch that AA ult and just throw it back at Duralius. And now it's EMPOW4's time to push into the high ground. What is it, about 18 minutes after Firestarter first tried to push high ground in the top lane. They do force a buyback from the Void, and they decide that's good enough. Let's fall back, let's clean up some of these creep waves with some stolen fissures, and then check out the Roshan. Blinking in, Mr. VC's there, and commences to the right click and so the Stun Brothers in here doing work. They have the amp damage down. Pilorn and Reaper are hanging out in the flanks just in case. Rubik's got the Axe, the Blink Dagger, and even the increased range of his spells with Ether Lens. So, I wonder what the spell steal range is. That's what the spell steal range is on paper right now. But you enhance that with a blink, and I mean, he can probably get to about here from the tier 3 tower. Something like that. It's got to be an incredible range between Blink Dagger, the lens, and just the natural long range of the level 3 spell steal. And upgrades the spell to scepter level. Let's check out some while both teams are kind of farming, and nope, I take that back. Firestarter smoking up, putting that smoke to use, and they're going to head presumably into the enemy jungle. Kupo is not smoking with the rest of his team, so he may just act as bait here, try to force a reaction out of EMPOW4. As Night Stalker has picked up a smoke of his own, and they're bringing the courier up and smoking in time with Firestarter, and they're going to rotate. They're going to catch cars and break the smoke. Fissure coming out from Reaper is going to be crisscrossed with Earthshaker's Reaper. And now there's just barriers everywhere. Neither team really able to retreat. ABC trying to make use of that by jumping into the background of EMPOW4 and popping his ultimate. But as he does so, he leaves the rest of his team to die, and they just melt. And right now, I think the power coming out from EMPOW4 is just too EMPOW4. And they make it a full 1-for-5 team wipe. Reaper eventually falling there. Compliments the diving Brewmaster and ABC's Void. But it's a huge team fight going in favor of EMPOW4. XP swing of about 6k. Gold swing of about 4k.
Radiant's middle tower is not safe.
And that's not the true cost of that battle, as we can see here on the net worth charts. 15k in favor of EMPOW4 now, 25k experience advantage, and the true cost of that fight is occurring right now as EMPOW4 bash on these barracks, looking to take the first barracks of the game, looking to take game 2 and make it a 1-for-1 exchange in the games here.
That's the end of Radiant's middle barracks.
Matching Firestarter's win of game 1. Kupo trying to get in position, throw out some barriers, sees the low ground, sees how much danger he's in from the stun monsters, and blinks back to safety. ABC still on a death timer for the next 15 seconds. Aegis is reclaimed in 20. They haven't even used the Aegis in that fight in the middle lane, so... A lot of damage coming out from EMPOW4, and at this point, I don't know how Firestarter are going to be able to cope with it. Faceless Void has, you know, some mana burn, presumably to stop Wraith King's respawn, but I don't think Faceless has the attack speed yet to burn enough mana in enough time, as well as do enough damage to the Wraith King. In addition to that, he's being affected by that mischance from the Radiance for the entire duration, so it's going to be a rough fight for him, and you can see he's tending to focus the supports in the backline of EMPOW4, and that's because Reaper has just been making things a mess for Team Firestarter. He's stealing exorcisms, he's stealing fissures. I haven't seen much stolen from anyone else, but he's definitely focusing on the Earthshaker and the Death Prophet. I haven't seen many Thunderclaps, not much from AA, and there's not much to steal from Void. You might be able to get his bubble, but even that I don't think is as advantageous as like an exorcism. AA constantly throwing out his ult, and Rubik picks up the Octarine Core, so his spells are going to have a 25% reduced cooldown, and all of his spells, stolen or otherwise, is going to result in some life leeching capabilities for him. Aegis is claimed. You hear the horn there. So Slardar now has an open slot as he sprints away from the AA blast. It looks like both teams are ready to decide this match as EMPOW4 look to push forward behind Mr. V's immortal Wraith King. And Firestarter do the math and figure out how they're going to defend this. For starters, they're just pulling the creep wave back and dropping it behind the tower. Waiting to get a pick off, but it's Guru who blinks forward. A little out of position. It's going to take his ally some time to get in position here, but he BKBs and sprints away while Mr. V and P. Lorne dive behind the tier 2 tower in the top lane. ABC throwing out his ultimate this time, catching Mr. V, catching Polearm, but Captain Canuck with his refresher, with his Agnims, is dropping 2 ultimates down on Team Firestarter. Exorcisms and ghosts everywhere, Fissure through the middle of the fight. Both teams throwing out just tons of spells. Reaper here just standing amidst all of the damage, all of the combat, all of the fight because of that life leeching from his spells, but it's not quite enough as Quicksilver turns his focus towards him and he has enough damage to right click and thunderclap him out of existence. And it is a 3-for-4 trade with a buyback and dieback coming out from Earthshaker, from Kupo's Earthshaker. So make that a 4-for-4. But because of the advantage EMPOW4 had going into that fight, it favors Firestarter pretty dramatically. Look at that XP change. 8,000 experience swinging in favor of Firestarter and about 4,000 gold. So even though they're sitting on a 25,000 gold advantage right now, they're 1 or 2 throws away from possibly losing at least a lane of Drax, and if they're not careful the game. But because they do have the middle racks already taken care of, it's constantly pushing that middle lane equilibrium into the Radiant side of the map, and in this case all the way to the Radiant Fountain. So even with a big defense like that, EMPOW4 aren't too worse for wear. Nightstalker does come through and eventually buys that gem I was pointing out before. I think if EMPOW4 had taken that fight just slightly earlier, when they still had the Aegis, it would have turned the tide of the fight a little bit more in their favor. But the fishy fell, and when fishies fall, your team falls. Teams go the way of the fishes, as we have decided here on twitch.tv/DarmanCast. The Dire Squad pick the fish, and if the fish do well, your team does well. Speaking of fish, this fish is sprinting towards enemy territory, seeing if he can get a pick off, but decides not to dive too deeply, instead backs off for his consolation prize, the Bounty Rune. I'm going to see if I can take a quick peek at some statistics here. See if I can get you guys some numbers with that's here laning, blah 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 blah. The ward being placed just ever so barely on the edge of the sentry ward is going to be spotted out and killed by Kupo. What I'm trying to look up here is... Oh, Roshan has spawned. AA ult going in, but EMPOW4 are already in the pit.
Haste. Good for my turn.
It doesn't look like Firestarter are going to be in position to try to defend this. They're revealing themselves in the middle lane, so EMPOW4 have to know that they're able to do this. But they push out the middle wave, and I take that back because it looks like Firestarter are going to try to force a fight here. They launch the AA blast into the Roach Pit once again, but see that the enemy team is not in there, and so they all kind of back off, spread out, and hit the neutrals. I don't believe... Nope, I take that back. AA does have a smoke. So if they wanted to play this aggressive, they can do so. But for now, both teams seem content to hang back, farm, gather up gold from the jungle, and go from there. Yeah, I'm trying to find... On Dat Dota, you can find a whole bunch of statistics, hence the name of the site. But one of them is the odds of winning a game at specific gold advantages at specific times in the game. So I wanted to see what a 25k advantage at 50 minutes looked like. And unfortunately, I'm having trouble bringing it up. So I'm here it is. Win expectancy. And at 50 minutes into the game, you have a 98% chance to win based on Dat Dota. So right now, Firestarters have their back against the wall, according to the math. But game of Dota, much like a fight in UFC, anything's possible if you take the right fight, if you land the right hit.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
But it looks like that 98% statistic might be prophetic.
Radiant's bottom
That's a
tower
word.
is gone with the wind.
It may be accurate. Let's go with the simpler layman's terms. As Mr. V is just kind of hanging out in the front lines here.
Radiant's bottom barracks
Right clicking, he's gonna drop this melee barracks before anybody engages. ABC finally decides to jump forward, and they're able to leech down the Wraith King, but he respawns, he goes back to work. ABC and Quicksilver both jumping forward, the double Zeus ult coming out. They are able to kill the Wraith King, but at the cost of a Brewmaster, and now Lars has popped his ult. Duralius' AA is very damaged, so he has to head back to base. Let's see if Reaper was able to steal that exorcism, and nope, not this time. He only got the silence, so you know he was looking for it, and he's probably going to cast that silence here. Nope, instead he steals the Echo Slam, so he has yet another ult available to him as Guru jumps forward and is trying to finish off Klars, but Klars uses into the air, and instead he takes his consolation prize in the Earthshaker, while Duralius and Klars are both going to be able to finish him off. He does have the Aegis, so he will respawn here. ABC, Duralius and Klars surround him, silence him, cold feed him. ABC's bouncing around, backtracking some of that damage as the rest of the EMPOW4 team back off. So overall, a few deaths for both teams, but more importantly, the bottom barracks are now gone from Firestarter, so they are down to their last set of barracks in the top lane, protected by the tier 2 tower. And I expect to see EMPOW4 respawn, regroup, and then march down that top lane to see if they can put the nail in the coffin here of Firestarter and give them their first, I'll say professional, their first amateur professional loss in months. Team Firestarter working their way through the heroic bracket undefeated through the entire thing. winning game 1 here in this best of 2 series. The first series they're in the AD2L Season 10. I keep wanting to say Season 9, but Season 10 tournament. EMPOW4, meanwhile, looking to get their first win of 2016. As they definitely have the damage behind them. But Firestarter pushing forward here down this middle lane. And this may be the YOLO push of the game, but 4 out of the 5 heroes from EMPOW4 are in position, are ready to defend. And with the fish respawning, you know it's dangerous to push uphill now, because you can't push into a fish. There's the rules. Fishes are too dangerous. Taking a quick look at the kill board here before I drop it immediately, because Mr. V jumps forward, throws out a stun onto ABC, but he backtracks that damage as Reaper jumps forward with his stolen Echo Slam, hitting as many targets as he can. Kupo answering with an Echo Slam of his own, and it's drums back and forth here. Reaper hasn't stolen another spell yet, but the exorcism from Klars is rolling. They pick off Reaper, they pick off Zeus. They're on the chase now, trying to pick off the Night Stalker. Kupo landing the fissure, blinks forward, isn't able to quite land the Echo Slam, and instead he grabs the haste rune. So now it's a right-click battle between Polearm and the Earthshaker, and it's going to be the Night Stalker that walks away the victor here. Meanwhile, in the back lines,
Radiant's middle tower may
looks like Reaper had bought back into the game. So I thought I saw him die, but it's that's not right. Thank you, Dota. But it's Klars and ABC who are still pushing forward, and a lucky bash coming out from ABC is going to catch Reaper, slow him in place long enough for Klars to get up, hit him with his slow, hit him with the Crypt Swarm, and drop him in place. So 3 heroes down. Buyback coming out from the Brewmaster as Guru's looking to solo push into the middle and bot lane here. And he at least forces the buyback as he BKB sprints away. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, you have ABC and Klars looking to take the first Dire Rex out of the game. Guru turning around and punishing Brewmaster for the chase as he's able to kill him, and now it's just one-on-one in this bottom lane as it's AA versus Slardar. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, ABC and Klars take the Rax. Klars popping his ultimate, and there's still 2 heroes dead on the side of P-Lorn, but Guru has made his way back to the base, and P-Lorn, the Night Stalker, is just doing excessive right-click damage and drops the Death Prophet. Meanwhile, Zeus is able to finish off the Faceless Void, and the push from Firestarter has come to an end. So they are able to even up the middle racks. They are able to defend the push from the Fish Monster, but Fish Monster taking out the tier 4 towers. I mean, this base is barren now. There's none of that quote-unquote buildings. The aptly named and creatively titled building. There's no effigies, there's no barracks, there's no nothings down here. And so, knowing that Brewmaster's buyback is on cooldown, they're looking to push this top lane with as much time as they have left. They have all 5 heroes here. They melt the tier 2 tower. They look to push into high ground here for the last time. ABC standing in the front lines, now rocking the level 2 Diffusal Blade and a Moon Shard, so he definitely has the attack speed now to burn through quite a bit of mana. But EMPOW4 kind of spread out. They don't want to clump up too much together so that they can avoid getting caught out by ABC's ultimate. Kupo doing his best to just buy time until Death Prophet's alive. She spawns and sprints forward, immediately popping her ult, immediately using a Crypt Swarm. Brewmaster popping an ult of his own, and they decide to take out the fish, then turn their focus to V, and the Exorcism is going to be enough to drop it. Meanwhile, Klars and Night Stalker are duking it out on the side. Zeus uses himself into the air and using the cheese pops back up to full health. And so ABC has to kill him yet again. And they're able to do so. And right now it looks like EMPOW4 are falling apart as the 4th hero dies, and it's only the Slardar who makes it out. And where did Slardar go? He sprinted out the top lane and back to safety. So a great defense coming out from Firestarter, netting them 13k, and they're looking to make this one of those 2% games where they come back from a 30,000 gold deficit at about the 40-minute mark, maybe 42, 43-minute mark.
Time is money.
And they've closed 10,000 of the gap already. They've taken the middle barracks, and this may be their time. They have 40 seconds. You have buybacks coming out from Zeus. You have Slardar sprinting his way, blinking his way, even upgrading his boots all the way back to base. I don't know if he should have done that. Did he have buyback? Nope, he was on a buyback timer, so gold or not, he wouldn't have been able to buy back. And it looks like Night Stalker's the only one who has buyback, but he's got 10 seconds until he respawns, so he's looking to save it if at all possible. Guru looking to flank behind the enemy here, and Firestarter see him do that. They see the timers, they know Night Stalker's back now, they know Rubik's coming back. They don't want to risk throwing away a big team fight like EMPOW4 just did, because they do not have the luxury of making any mistakes. Right now, EMPOW4 can do that. EMPOW4 can just throw their lives into the top lane in hopes of dropping the barracks. Because as you saw, even with what was essentially a full team wipe, Firestarter aren't able to push forward fast enough or strong enough in order to drop the opposing throne. Pings are coming out on Roshan. They checked it, it wasn't there, and it spawns just as they walk past it, and so they go in another time for another kill on Roshan. They're dropping blade mails, they're dropping rings of Bacillus. Zeus should have an open spot. He does, as he instead has 3 healing salves, but this time it's not him who's going to be the recipient of the cheese, it's going to be the Slardar. Mr. V sitting on the Aegis, so they're going to have to kill him a number of times now in order to get him out of the game. Boots of travel pretty much up across the board here. You can see on Team Firestarter, the only one still sticking to the old power treads is ABC. On the flip side of the map, you have P-Lorn rocking the phase boots so he can phase through creep waves, phase through all the nonsense, and get to where he needs to go. He doesn't need the increased move speed of Boots of Travel. The teleport might be nice, but at nighttime and having artificial darkness, he's able to make it night whenever he wants. He has more than enough move speed. He just needs to be able to get through the crowds, get through the masses, assuming he's not locked inside of a void bubble. Captain Canuck, also one of the outliers there, as he's still rocking the mana boots, which, with all the stuff he's got behind him, he's definitely burning through a lot of mana here as he casts 2 ultimates per team fight, lightning bolts and arc lightnings on cooldowns. He's throwing out Scythe of Vices. He's burning through a lot of mana, so he may need it. Power stepping forward, right clicking down the tower. Kupo trying to buy some space here with a Fissure. Reaper saying, hey, that looks like a good idea, I'll have one too. Takes a Fissure of his own. Double Zeus ult cast. And another big Echo Slam coming out from Reaper as it just devastates Klars, but Klars now leeching back a lot of that health, throwing out that Exorcism. The silence slightly off the mark on Captain Canuck as Mr. V is still hanging out at the tower, trying to play objective Dota, trying to take that tower down. Polarn trying to flank through the middle lane here and catch the enemy by surprise, but Kupo's in position, AA's in position. Unfortunately, those 2 heroes aren't going to be able to take him in a raw fight, and instead are just trying to zone him out, and so far that's exactly what they do, while in the top lane, Death Prophet continuing to chase against Zeus, is able to drop him once again, and it is a 2-for-4 trade as Slardar, Zeus, Mr. V on the Wraith King, excuse me, and Rubik all fall. Brewmaster and Earthshaker, the casualties of war from Team Firestarter, but buybacks coming out from both of those heroes. Get them back into the fight. Earthshaker helping to zone out the Night Stalker. Brewmaster buying back to force a push and force a reaction from Team EMPOW4 here. We have Klars in the top lane. He's going to have his ultimate complement of the Octarine core here very shortly, reducing its cooldown by 25%. He'll have it in 10 seconds before most of the heroes from Team EMPOW4 respawn. And I don't know if Firestarter are going to look to just YOLO down the mid lane, but nope, it looks like they're going to focus on the barracks themselves. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, you have P-Lorn pushing the lane. He has a scroll, but he's opting not to retreat back to base. Klars pops his Exorcism. Brewmaster pops his ultimate as well, and now there's just illusions and pandas and ghosts. Oh my. Beating down these tier 4 towers. Now Night Stalker is going to teleport back to his base. Guru surging forward, trying to stop this Death Prophet ultimate, but isn't able to do so. Meanwhile, V and P-Lorn look to get into position, but ABC meets them with an ultimate, drops both of them. That's just the first life of Wraith King, so he's going to be able to come back into this fight. Reaper's still sitting on top of that Echo Slam, is going to force staff himself forward or blink forward, pop that, but it doesn't catch out anyone. So the entirety of Firestarter's lineup is still alive, still well. Death Prophet siphoning off life from the Zeus and the Night Stalker. Pops the Shiva's guard, slowing them down. Good game is called by Reaper, and the damage is done to the throne, and Firestarter come back from a huge gold deficit to win game 2. And the charts aren't going to show me what it was, but it was over 30k in favor of EMPOW4. And there was just 3 or 4 fights in a row in that top lane as Firestarter looked to mount a defense, and they do successfully time and time again. And as a result of that, they're able to find their timing, find their opening, and push down the middle lane, take the first set of racks after a big team fight, and then after that last team fight we just saw, they push the top lane, they break the top lane wide open, they think about taking the bot lane, but instead make the correct choice, opt to just push for the throne, take out the tier 4 towers, take out the throne, and secure their victory. So, very well played by both teams. EMPOW4 definitely had their number in game 2. They figured out how to survive through Firestarter's early aggression. Firestarter had took, I believe it was all of the outer towers by the 26 minute mark. But it was aggressive tower pushing, and EMPOW4 stuck in there. They fought it out. They found their farm. They went into the jungle. They went into hiding. They turtled up for a bit. And then they emerged. They had just a ton of damage. They took Roche time and time again. But Firestarter putting out an impressive defense there. I can't name a single MVP of the game. All players all around did really well. And you can see the scoreboard. There's no true, huge outlier. There's no one that's 30-1. There's no one that's 1-20, anything like that. So good plays all around. This game could have easily gone to either team, and it's Firestarter who walk away with a hard-fought victory. Both teams operating with stand-ins. So if I do have to give a tip of my hat to any player from Game 2, I would have to say it's Reaper. Playing the Rubik, he stole ultimate after ultimate after ultimate. He stole Klars' Exorcism at least 3 times that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure it was more than that. He also stole Echo Slam time and time again, at least 3 of those. So Rubik just stealing spell after spell, ultimate after ultimate, putting up a very strong fight. But yeah, just impressive defense by Firestarter, and they come back to win. Like I said, according to Dota statistics, they had a 2% chance to win at the 40-50 minute mark, and they pulled it out. So congratulations to them. I know they fought very hard for it. I'm surprised. I had kind of wrote them off as losing, but like I said, in Dota, anything's possible. If you can pick your right fight, if you can pick your right moment, you can come back. That's why when teams called GG in Pub Dota at the 8-minute mark, just ignore them. Anything's possible. Stay together, fight smart, make your defenses, and you can pull out some tough victories like this. Again, congratulations to both teams. I am Darman, coming to you on twitch.tv/DarmanCast. If you liked this game, if you liked my casting, please subscribe, like, follow, share, tell your friends, family, loved ones, co-workers, whoever. And I will be back again tomorrow with some more AD2L Season 10 Dota matches. It's going to be... I'll have to look up the teams for you here. Give me just a moment. It's going to be PG Eclipse versus Team Resilience 2, and that'll be played tomorrow night at about the same time, about 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So please stop by, stay tuned, and check those games out. It was an absolute pleasure casting these two games. I knew it was going to be a good matchup. The second game going 67 minutes. I was not expecting quite so long a game, especially for my third straight cast of the night, but it was a very fun game to watch and a surprising turnaround in favor of Firestarter there in the last 30 minutes. So congrats to everyone. GG, well played, and I will see you around. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Darman out.